You want a war? You're gonna get one.
Now get the guns, the drugs from my generation. I'll take the fall, the saints, no confirmation. And it's a sex, the god, the fakes, the fraud, they're messing with me. Come on, come on, come on, let's get it out. Move to the music, play that fucking music. Live through my music, yeah.
It's the 17th of August 1998. Welcome back to Reliving the War, and welcome back to another head-to-head battle between WWF Raw's War and WCW Monday Nitro. Raw takes place this week in Des Moines, Iowa, while WCW Nitro's live from Hartford, Connecticut. Jam-up guy Tony C from Long Island attended an AEW show recently, and he mixed the Jam shirt with MJF's scarf. An absolute fashion statement and a winning combination for sure. Thanks Tony for being this week's Jam-up guy. Our runtime's a bit longer this week because there's a few big promos that I wanted to play out, so don't get put off when looking at the timer. If you've watched these upcoming promos before, then just skip ahead to the next part. Let's go straight over to TNT and see what's going on in the first 60 minutes of WCW Nitro. Hollywood Hogan comes to the ring for a promo before we get our usual formal introduction from the commentary team. Hogan talks his usual nonsense about being worshipped by the NWOites and all that stuff, and then he says Bill Goldberg's time as champion ends tonight. Hollywood wants his NWO Championship belt back, but Hollywood isn't going to be the one who beats Goldberg in the Nitro main event. Oh no. Hogan says the Giant is going to do Hollywood's dirty work and hand the title over once he beats Goldberg tonight on Nitro. Hollywood says the Giant's back's covered too, no one's going to interfere, so there you go, there's your Nitro main event. Hogan also said that he's beaten everybody in WCW and there's no one left for him to fight. According to my records, he's never beaten Goldberg, so that little statement didn't make much sense. JJ Dillon comes out to make an announcement regarding Fall Brawl and the upcoming War Games match, and Dillon heard what Hollywood said in regards to Hogan beating everyone in the company. He's gonna ponder over that statement for a little while, but in regards to War Games, this year's match is gonna be different. We're gonna have 3 teams consisting of 3 men. Hollywood Hogan captains a black and white squad, DDP's gonna captain Team WCW, and Kevin Nash will lead the NWO Wolfpac in the War Games on September 13th. 3 men are going to start the match. The match can only end when all 9 men are in the ring, and whoever gets the pinfall or submission victory will get a shot at the world title at Halloween Havoc. This even sounded horrible before it got in the ring. If there's a title opportunity up for grabs, then why would teammates work together? Why are there 3 teams instead of 2? Why are pinfalls allowed inside a War Games match? Why on earth would you change the fundamentals of one of WCW's most unique matches? The in-ring action kicks off with an absolute banger. It's Steve McMichael versus Sick Boy. Some sweet bumps from McMichael included this dropkick right here and this attempt at a suplex. The mind boggles, but Steve-O still gets a win after nailing Sick Boy with a tombstone piledriver. You know, Steve McMichael must have one of the best win-loss records in WCW right now, not including the obvious Bill Goldberg. Give Steve a title shot, I say, and let it happen at Starrcade. Stevie says the Horsemen are coming back, and speaking of the Horsemen, Dean Malenko made a final play to Arn Anderson on WCW Saturday Night to bring the faction back. Mean Gene wanted to know who DDP's partners are going to be at Fall Brawl. Page said he flew out west to tell a certain someone that an opportunity's presented itself to face Hollywood Hogan inside War Games, and this certain someone got pretty excited about this opportunity. Page says Hogan is 0-1, and he tells fans to check their record books. Interesting, very interesting. As for tonight, Page can't stop thinking about the NWO beating him down before his US title match against Bret Hart a few weeks back. So the Hitman walks down to the ring, holding the US title he won back from Lex Luger, and he says DDP's out here complaining as usual because he slipped on a banana peel backstage. DDP's blaming Hogan and Bret for his own shortcomings. When you come to the ring, you come to fight, and if you lose, you suck it up and continue on. Page tells Bret to prove he's the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be tonight. DDP wants a match, he wants a shot at the US belt, and Bret tells DDP to think about this. Roddy Piper, Randy Savage, Chris Benoit and Booker T are all sitting at home because of the Hitman, and the only reason Luger isn't lying dead somewhere is because he's Sting's friend. DDP's the scum of the earth, and if Page wants a shot at the US title tonight, well, he just got himself one. A tag team match got booked when Horace interrupted a scheduled Raven interview. Horace wanted Raven one-on-one, but Raven would only agree to a tag team match. Horace and Kanyon versus Raven and Saturn. Saturn said he'd do it, but he planned on beating the hell out of Raven as soon as he gets tagged in. So James J. Baby Dillon shows up and he makes the match official with 2 stipulations. It can only end in pinfall or submission, and if anyone tries to hurt their partner during the match, then they'll get suspended.
Fuck yeah, Saturday Night Fever gives me a funny feeling in my pants.
He's so funny, he's so cool, he's just a disco dancing fool.
2 of the absolute best tag teams in WCW history go at it next. Disco and Alex versus High Voltage. This should have been the main event. Alex shows off at the beginning of the match and Robbie Rage gets messed up with a dropkick and a hard chop from Daz Wunderkind. Rage comes back with a power slam and a military press slam, so Alex hits a European uppercut before tagging in Disco. The Inferno starts off well, but as usual, it goes downhill pretty fast. He tries to take on Kenny Chaos, but Rage gets a blind tag and his springboard attack wasn't very accurate. Not sure if this was meant to be a bulldog, but it doesn't matter anyway because here comes Ming to take everyone out. That's right, we don't get a winner. Ming takes out everyone. No one safe from the Tongan death grip, including officials. This guy here with a dead animal on his head pepper sprays the Minger. Little did he know that pepper spray has no effect on the man called Ming. That shit just drips off Ming as he applies one more Tongan death grip just before Nitro takes a commercial break. It's absolutely wild. Raw begins and we see Steve Austin trying to kick down Mr. McMahon's office door, but he doesn't get very far. He even tries to use a magical briefcase, so clearly that door has been reinforced. Austin's going to come down to the ring to cut a promo while Eddie Guerrero grabs a microphone over on Monday Nitro. This is going to be good. The audience think the Undertaker's just arrived to Raw in a hearse, but the glass shatters and Stone Cold gets a great ovation as he steps out of the vehicle. He tells Mr. McMahon to get down to the ring or tonight's broadcast of Raw will feature nothing but Stone Cold drinking beer as the show gets held hostage. Pop Patterson shows up first, followed by Jerry Briscoe and then Sergeant Slaughter, and Austin says someone needs to bring him a beer post-haste because it looks like it's going to be a long night. Finally, Vince McMahon shows up and the real 4 horsemen make their way down to the ring. Austin tells these stooges to kiss McMahon's ass while he's bent over, and Stone Cold says Mr. McMahon must be pretty happy now that Austin and Undertaker aren't tag team champions anymore. The thing is, Steve Austin and The Undertaker are no longer bound together by tag team gold. Stone Cold trusts nobody and he prefers being on his own. So tonight, Stone Cold plans on stuffing The Undertaker in the hearse that sits on the entranceway, and Vince McMahon will get the same treatment if he tries to stop the rattlesnake. Austin will then chauffeur McMahon and Undertaker down the highway to hell to SummerSlam.
And that's all I got to say, you sorry son of a bitch. And that's the bottom line. Cause Stone Cold shuts up.
On Nitro, we get what's possibly Eddie Guerrero's most memorable promo of the whole Monday Night War. You've been following along with me since day one, so you'll also know that this promo completely comes from nowhere, but my god, this one made a lot of headlines. It's a work-shoot promo where Eddie talks about being mistreated by Eric Bischoff, and it's the first time a talent ever brought up the fact that young guys were being held back due to the NWO and Eric's booking decisions. Rather than me talking about the promo, it's probably best if you hear this one for yourself.
Hey production, don't even think about going to a commercial. If not, I might go say my piece at some other show. Yeah, that's right, Eric. Do I got your attention now, Eric Bischoff? I can't get it in the back. Huh? I try and go in there and talk to you about business and I get screamed at and kicked out. Well, if this is what I gotta do to get your attention, Eric Bischoff, that this is what I'm gonna do. Fire me, do whatever it takes. I could give a you-know-what, Eric. Eric Bischoff, time in and time out. For 1 whole year, I have been coming here to work just to be mistreated by you and very much unappreciated, Eric. On the road, on TV. I give you my 100%. I give all these people my 100%, whether they like me or whether they don't. I give you the best show there is, and you know it. And you cannot give me the time of day in the back to listen to what I have to say to you, Eric. Well, I could give a damn. Because you know what? I don't care anymore, Eric Bischoff. You got a lot of young talent here in WCW, and all you do is hold us down for people that you pay a lot of money to and that you have way up here. Well, I don't care, Bischoff, anymore. I don't care about these people. I don't care about nothing anymore, Eric. You have driven me to that. I come to work with my heart, and all you do is step on it. And I'm tired of it. You hold me down. You've held me down. And from now on in, Eric, see, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's something personal you got against me. Whatever it is, Eric, I don't know. I mean, what is it about me that you have against me that you keep me from stepping up the ladder in this profession? What is it about me? I mean, you got me tied down, Eric, in my contract, and I could give. I'm telling you this right now, okay? And I'm saying this for any other guy that wants to come out here and speak his mind that's being held down. If you got the, you know what, come out here and say it like I am. Eric Bischoff, I'm telling you this face to face, boy, because I can't get your attention. Other way, not face to face, let me say, on national TV, in front of all these people, I'm coming out. And the only reason I haven't come out any sooner is for two reasons. Chavo Jr., I love you, man. You're my blood, and I'll never let that go. You're one of the reasons I haven't said anything about what I'm doing tonight. And the other reason is because I have two kids and a wife that I have to support. Well, you know what? If losing my dignity means having to put up with WCW, NWO red, black or white, or whatever the hell it is, I don't care. So Eric Bischoff, I'm telling you this right now. I want out of my contract, no matter what it takes, who I gotta speak to, or what it is, okay? And here, let me save you some time, Eric Bischoff. I'm throwing coffee on myself. As far as I'm concerned, Eric Bischoff, you can take this job and shove it up your you-know-what.
The whole coffee thing, according to Bischoff, was based around Eric accidentally spilling a little coffee on Eddie during a production meeting. The whole thing was planned out. This wasn't real or anything like that, but it was good, and it's also good that Eddie's moving on to another storyline that has potential, even if I thought the stuff with Chavo still had a lot more mileage. WCW would get all too comfortable doing these kind of work-shoot promos, and they ended up doing way more harm than good. This one was a winner though, and it's one of my favourite moments of the whole Monday Night War. If you don't agree, you can shove it up your you-know-what. Shamrock vs. Severn vs. Owen Hart on Raw. Kanyon and Horace vs. Raven and Saturn on Nitro. Right, so here's what happened, really. Steve Blackman thinks Dan Severn's ready to get back in the ring. His refresher course at the Mohawk Dojo has been completed, and he's now ready to get back in the ring against classmate Ken Shamrock and Owen Hart. Commissioner Slaughter hasn't sent the nation back to the locker room in a few weeks, so he comes out to do just that. And our match begins with Dan Severn doing absolutely nothing while Ken Shamrock and Owen Hart fight it out in the middle of the ring. Maybe this is a plan, maybe the students of Blackman are going to take turns at wrecking Owen's face, so there's nothing to worry about. Shamrock pulls off a sweet Japanese arm drag while Owen replies with a spinning wheel kick. Jim Ross announces a special Lions Den match for SummerSlam right here that's going to feature Owen and Shamrock fighting in a cage similar to the UFC's Octagon, as Severn looks on at his teammate getting his ass kicked. The Blackheart screams, "I'm not a nugget," as he claws away at Shamrock's face, and as Shamrock tries to build a comeback, Dan the Man still refuses to get physical. Shamrock pulls off a belly-to-belly suplex. He pins Owen, but Severn breaks up the cover. It looks like the Beast has betrayed the Blackman dojo, and this can't be good. Owen gets a chance to hit Ken with a German suplex. Ken kicks out and he applies the ankle lock. This prompts Dan Severn to lock in a dragon sleeper on Kenny Boy. Owen heart attacks Ken. Officials run in to try and break the hold, but Dan will not let go. Ken's about to die right now, and there's nothing anyone can do about it. Finally, Master Blackman hits the ring and Owen gets taken out. Steve says that's enough. Severn's been consumed by the Dark Hado and he needs to snap out of it. Dan backs up while Steve checks on Kenny Boy, but then Severn puts his master in the Dragon Sleeper, and the beautiful relationship between the Beast and the Motherfucker comes to a harsh end. It takes Commissioner Slaughter and more officials to break the hold. An unholy alliance is formed between Owen Hart and Dan Severn, and the bad guys leave while Shamrock and Blackman begin to wake up. After noticing that the student has now become the master, Kenny Boy loses it. He doesn't like seeing Sensei Blackman in such pain, so he freaks out and he takes it out on Slaughter before Raw takes a commercial break. On Nitro, that tag team match that was booked earlier on takes place, and remember, teammates can't hurt each other. Saturn shoves Raven and he almost costs his team the victory at the opening bell. Saturn doesn't want to get tagged in and he argues with Raven after he's forced to step into the ring, but he still brings the pain with a belly-to-belly suplex to Kanyon and a T-bone suplex to Horace. Kanyon and Horace work better together as a team though, and they're able to gain the upper hand after focusing a little on the task at hand. Saturn takes a running backbreaker from Chris, and Chris goes upstairs to put Saturn away, but then Raven knocks Kanyon down and Perry forces Raven to get back in the ring. Raven steals Kanyon's consecutive Russian leg sweeps before grabbing a steel chair. He sets it up in the ring, but it's Kanyon who does some damage after a middle rope facebuster. Horace tags in and Raven takes a beating from his own underling, and check out Horace's elegant top rope splash. What a thing of beauty. Horace and Kanyon again work well as a team as they throw their opponents into each other. Saturn pulls off the old inadvertent headbutt to the bald spot before getting planted with a powerbomb cutter combo. He then takes the electric chair facebuster, but the match ends when Horace hits Kanyon with his stop sign by accident and Saturn hits Hogan's nephew with a Death Valley driver. To thank his partner, Raven hits Saturn with an even flow, and when Kidman tries to help Perry, he too takes a DDT. Horace then says he wants a piece of Saturn. He hits him with a full Nelson slam, but then Raven hits Horace with an even flow, and who knows what's going on here. With friends like this, who needs enemies, right? The NWO Wolfpac want to talk about War Games next on Nitro, while over on Raw we've got Brawl for All action, the Godfather versus Bart Gunn. I'll keep the Brawl for All match short and sweet because it seems like a few of you guys are already tired of seeing these shoot fights. Godfather doesn't offer Bart Gunn a night with his gremlins, instead he's just going to kick Bart's ass apparently, and look at the way he's holding his mic with those big old boxing gloves. Round 1 was fairly even with both guys taking some hard shots. I'd say the Godfather got in the best punch right here just at the end of the round. In round 2, Godfather took quite a left hand, but he wasn't out just yet. He came back strong for about 10 seconds or so, but then another left made the Pimp Daddy a little wobbly at the knees. He was basically a punching bag for the final moments of the match, and again, Jack Doan should have stopped the fight right here. I don't blame Jack either though. He's not a legit fight official, and he was out of his element just as much as the fighters in the ring. The WWF really should have brought in some proper trained referees for these kind of fights though, because I'm 100% convinced that a lot of the injuries sustained in this tournament could have been avoided had the fight stopped when they really should have. Godfather gets knocked down at the end of the round, though he gets saved by the bell. In round 3, Godfather came out already half fucked and a big right hook knocks him out cold. It's a spectacular knockout, the crowd loves it, and the crowd are now firmly behind Bart Gunn in this tournament. The Godfather looks like he's on another planet as he wakes up in his corner, and maybe he should have offered BG a night with his gremlins after all. Backstage, Shamrock and Blackman can't get over their betrayal at the hands of Dan Severn. They're totally wrecking the place while our guy here couldn't care less. He knows exactly where Dan Severn went, he's just not going to hand over such valuable information. Following this vandalism, Michael Cole announces that Severn's going to serve as Owen Hart's special trainer for the Lions Den match at SummerSlam, so maybe Dan's going to teach Owen how to do some sick Blackman moves in order to beat Ken. I can't wait for SummerSlam, guys, swear to God. On Nitro, Lex Luger says Kevin Nash's line, Wolfpac's in the house, and you can just shut your mouth, Flexi Lexi, because you couldn't keep the US title for 4 nights. Sting says War Games coming up. He's been in a few War Games before and he wants to do it again. This time Sting's in the red and black and that makes things a whole lot sweeter. Conan goes through his usual shtick and the crowd absolutely love it. And then Big Kev takes the mic to say War Games will be the end of the black and white as we know it. Nash tells NWO Hollywood that if they don't run with the pack, they'll get hunted by the pack. The Wolfpack's just too sweet, and that's the end of the promo. The audience love the Wolfpack, there's absolutely no denying that, but I still wish they were given something a bit more to do in WCW. It's also kinda mood saying that because I could say the same for a lot of guys on the WCW roster, but do keep in mind, this is a 3-hour show every week. Time isn't the issue here, it's all down to creativity. Gangrel debuts next on WWF Raw in a match against Brian Christopher. On Nitro, we've got Scott Norton versus Scott Putski. 2 very short matches here. Gangrel did wrestle on Heat the night before, but tonight is his Raw debut, and he gets to show off his awesome entrance before stepping into the ring against Too Sexy. The commentators never say it's blood that Gangrel drinks from his chalice, it's always a red liquid. Edge gets a good look at this Gangrel chop from the audience and he looks a little intrigued by this, let's call it what it is, this vampire character who's stepping into the ring. But things don't start out too well for Gangrel as he takes a bulldog from Brian Christopher. Too Sexy thinks he has this all figured out, but the Lost Boys reject gets to his feet and he throws a few punches before nailing Brian with a double underhook sit-down powerbomb. Brian tries to fight back, he goes for a neckbreaker, but Gangrel reverses it with an awesome Impaler DDT. Quick side note, Gangrel said he came up with the Impaler by accident. In training he was going for a suplex, but he forgot to hook his opponent's arm over his neck. He then went ahead and improvised this DDT, and I think it's one of the most underrated and underappreciated DDTs in all of pro wrestling. A victory for Gangrel, a good Raw debut for Gangrel, and I'm looking forward to seeing more. Backstage, Shamrock and Blackman learn about Severn training Owen Hart, and the news infuriates Ken Shamrock. Blackman and Kenny Boy continue to wreck the place after promising to break every bone in their opponent's bodies. So not a great day for the Mavug Dojo. JR and King are promising an Undertaker and Stone Cold confrontation tonight on Raw. It's not a match they're promoting, it's just a confrontation that'll maybe end in a fight. On Nitro, the Putski vs Norton match is as cut and dry as it gets. Putski gets chopped at the opening bell, he pulls off a neckbreaker before getting distracted by Vincent. Big Scott Norton pulls off a power slam, and Putski tries his best to fight back with an arm drag followed by a dropkick. Vincent gets on the apron again, it's his favourite place to be it seems, but his services are no longer required. Norton delivers the powerbomb and it's all over. An easy payday for Flash Norton, an even easier one for Vincent. Too Cold Scorpio and Faarooq versus the DOA. On Nitro, Hollywood Hogan cuts another promo. Before the Raw match, we see DX and the Nation fighting backstage. These two factions are scheduled for a street fight later on Raw, and clearly they don't want to wait any longer. We cut back to the arena for our tag team match, and the jokers at WWF thought it would be funny to have a Bill Clinton impersonator call in and talk about the Monica Lewinsky scandal. Maybe some of you American viewers got a kick out of this, and if you did, that's awesome, really it is. I dare say there's a lot of fans too who couldn't care about this kind of thing, or even those who didn't care for it in wrestling shows, but it is what it is. The Biker Michael Likers stay in control during the phone call, but Faarooq comes back with a clothesline from Bret's rope. Too Cold Scorpio tags in, as does Dirty Ol' Asshole number 2, and Scorpio pulls off a nice drop toe hold transition into a side headlock, but he then gets put down with a power slam. Scorpio then takes a clothesline and the DOA tag in and out while performing double team moves. Scorpio takes a sidewalk slam and Faarooq's forced to break up the cover, but then we cut over to the backstage area where the Nation and DX continue to fight. The brawl spills all the way out to the arena and the two factions begin fighting on the stage and the rampway. Too Cold pulls off the 450, but the referee's too distracted with the brawl happening away from the ring. The DOA see this as a perfect opportunity to pull off the old switcheroo, and the Biker Michael Likers win this tag team match on Raw. DX and the Nation head to the back, their street fight is up next. Hollywood Hogan comes to the ring with Eric Bischoff, and Hollywood says it'll be an honour to step into War Games and take out the Wolfpac in WCW in a single match. The Hulkster looks forward to taking out yesterday's garbage like Kevin Nash and DDP. Yeah, he really said that. And as for this mystery man who DDP talked about earlier on, well, it's Eric Bischoff who signs the checks, so Page must be bluffing. Besides, there's no one out there who Hollywood hasn't beaten. There's no one who Hollywood can't put under his thumb. Hogan's the man, and there's not a warrior in the world who can stop Hogan getting his belt back. The lights begin flickering in the arena. The place goes completely dark as spotlights shine around the crowd. We cut over to the entranceway and we see the silhouette of the man who Hogan failed to beat at WrestleMania 6. The Warrior's here in WCW, and I gotta say, his entrance here was pretty awesome. The crowd goes nuts as Warrior steps into a WCW ring for the very first time, and oh my god, the Warrior's got a microphone in his pocket. Now, this promo is long. Some enjoyed it, others thought it was a lot of nonsense and the ramblings of a madman. To balance things out and to keep everyone happy, I am going to play the promo, but I've speeded things up considerably and I've removed the silence and other small bits that I don't feel add anything at all to the message Warrior was trying to send here. I've cut things down to a respectable 3 minutes. 3 minutes of your valuable time can now be spent feeling the power of the Ultimate Warrior, or you can just skip ahead for the summary. Say goodbye to your loved ones, take whatever drugs you need to take, and strap yourselves in. Here we go.
Talk to me, Warrior! Feel the real power, Hogan! I thought you were dead. Who holds the absolute power now? Hollywood Hogan! Seems as if no formal introduction is going to be necessary. Actually, it even seems as if there are those who anticipated my arrival for years. I have watched while this industry, with you as its figurehead, has tried to recreate what is simply unrecreatable. I have heard, listened to all the innuendos and speculation that something ultimate or warrior may soon reappear. Welcome to the reappearance. Those things, Hogan, which are irreplaceable, whether they be people's places or things, are never forgotten. You are witnessing that right now. History tells us, Hogan, that a man's legacy is built from the premise that within his life, the moments lived, once lived, become a piece of his history. Somehow, you have conveniently, even eloquently, misplaced pieces of your history. In the one-time, epical battle between us, Hogan, you were the quintessential influence of what was good, great, and heroic. But different than you may remember, you never beat a warrior. And certainly not the ultimate one. As the victor of that one-time battle. Oh. There really is no sadder sight than when a grown man fears the challenges in his life so much that he rationalizes adolescent behavior to the point where he carries out heinous and self-indulgent actions. Your evilness, the evilness you embody and portray, is intolerable. I am the one that has the power to destroy you. In source, Hogan, the truth is inexhaustible. I come here not to beat you up tonight, Hogan. Beating you means nothing anymore. Everybody already has. No, that's too easy. Because you felt guilty for being who you were. Your mind became weak and Hulkamania became boring. I come here, Hogan, to tell you, next week, I intend to launch a revolution not even you can control. I ask you to find the courage. Check it out. Next week, same warrior time, same warrior place, same warrior channel.
He is finished. Ladies and gentlemen, look at the sign. Don't you dare touch that dial.
Alright, so in short, Warrior said Hogan became a bad guy because Hulkamania got boring. Hogan's never defeated Warrior, and Warrior's the one man who has the power to end Hollywood Hogan. The Hulkster was once considered the good guy, the unbeatable hero, but Warrior beat him then, and he could, if he wanted to, beat him again pretty easily. He's not going to fight Hogan tonight. Instead, he's going to bring some sort of revolution to WCW next week on Nitro that Hogan nor Bischoff can control. And if Hogan has the cojones, he can show up next week and see what this madman has up his sleeve. Warrior has a bat symbol, so you know he means serious business, but I'm in the camp that believes this promo was way too long, and you can even see Bischoff getting anxious about the runtime. Eric stated on his podcast that Warrior's speech was a bit too much, but there you have it. The Ultimate Warriors in WCW. What could possibly go wrong? Needed a smoke break after that one, guys. Next up, we have Curt Hennig versus Dean Malenko on Nitro. Raw continues on with that DX versus Nation street fight. These faction brawls are my least favourite things to cover on Reliving the War because you just can't say too much about a bunch of guys hitting each other with weapons, so let's take a look at a few notable spots instead. Bret Hart's glad to hear that there's no Road Dogg pre-match promo this week. Sorry guys, we do get Triple H asking fans, are you ready? So, are you? Are you ready? By the way, I've seen comments where people think I dislike the Road Dogg because of the Bret Hart shut up thing. Guys, it's just a bit. All the bits in this series have absolutely no bearing on what I think about the guys and girls in the ring. I think the Road Dogg was a great fit for DX and I don't dislike him, alright? I also don't dislike Glacier. So just have some fun with me and stop taking everything so seriously. I know it's not everyone, but there are a few. The Nation comes out and The Rock's got a ladder. That's what we like to see. The street fight begins and DX control the match early on by using a trash can to their advantage. Triple H has to save his boy X-Pac when the IC champ attacks on the outside, but Rocky gets revenge back in the ring. The two teams hit each other with trash can lids and metal trays. The Rock sets a tray on Road Dogg for a people's elbow, but he accidentally kicks it off during the move. Billy Gunn saves his partner from getting pinned and the Great One takes a pile driver. But then Jeff Jarrett shows up randomly and he attacks X-Pac. Jim Ross announces here that Double J faces X-Pac at SummerSlam, so I guess that explains things. Kid gets a little revenge on the fake Double J before Southern Cyborg Justice shows up. Double J then uses those clippers again to cut X-Pac's hair, and at this point the Outlaws have left the ring while Triple H is in there all alone. With DX busy taking care of Double J and Southern Justice, the Nation absolutely destroy Hunter. Triple H gets thrown into the ladder and Rock drops the ladder across Triple H's back. When someone tries to help Hunter, D'Lo and Mark Henry are right there to keep them away. The beatdown ends with a bloody Triple H left under the ladder, while The Rock says nobody can step up to the people's champ. D-Generation X got their asses kicked this week, and The Rock's looking pretty good heading into SummerSlam in 2 weeks' time. On WCW Saturday night, Curt Hennig spoke down to Dean Malenko, saying Dean doesn't have what it takes to be a horseman. So Dean plans on proving Curt wrong in this one-on-one match on Nitro. Curt takes his weekly time out as soon as the bell rings, and that's because Nitro needs to take a commercial break. We come back to Malenko pulling Hennig into the ring, and the match is on. Curt takes a few shots in the corner before dragging Dean to the outside for a few chops. Back in the ring, the chops continue, but Malenko comes back with a few forearm shots followed by his jumping leg lariat. The commentators are still talking about the Warrior as Curt pokes Dean in the eye, and this guy here shows us his nipple. An absolute lunatic of the highest order. Dean hits the mat after a clothesline, and Hennig wrenches down on the Iceman's neck, and Tony Schiavone apologizes for not focusing on the match before continuing to talk about the Ultimate Warrior. Rude attacks Dean behind the referee's back, but a back body drop brings Malenko back into it. Dean punishes Curt in the corner. He pulls off a Russian leg sweep followed by a back suplex, but when Dean goes for a cloverleaf, Curt makes it to the ropes while Rick Rude gets on the apron. Dean attacks Ravishing Rick, and this was a big mistake. Curt and Rude work together to get Dean out of the ring. Ravishing Rick pulls off a double axe handle from the apron while the referee was distracted, and the match ends when Malenko gets thrown back in the ring and Curt performs the perfect plex. I'll say this much, even if Curt's matches in WCW aren't up to the same standard as his glory days in WWF or even the AWA, he wrestles almost every week, and that's before and after his knee injury. We did have a little fun with Curt's main event streak on Nitro a few months back, but give him credit, it looks like he had no issues wrestling much more than his NWO teammates. Double fun on Raw, a Tiger Ali Singh promo and a Jackie vs Sable arm wrestling contest. On Nitro, Buff Bagwell and Scotty Steiner cut a promo. Alright, so we don't have to spend a terrible amount of time on these Raw segments. Tiger's moved on to men in his quest to prove that Americans would do anything for money. This week he wants some poor soul to get in the ring and lick in between Abu's stinking toes. And this legend of the industry right here gets his tongue right in there for $500. You know, the difference between Tiger and Ted DiBiase is the fact that Ted DiBiase was actually good in the ring. Tiger Jeet Singh, the father of Tiger Ali Singh, was quite the hardcore legend. So young Tiger here better lace up the boots and show us something good, because the last match we covered of his all the way back at One Night Only 1997 wasn't that hot, just saying. Next we see Sable stretching appropriately for this upcoming arm wrestling contest. She comes to the ring holding Jackie's bikini contest trophy, and I thought she gave that thing to Luna last week. Guess it was all for show. Sable tells Jackie to come down and get her trophy. Jackie makes her entrance, and after a little hesitation from Mero's latest squeeze, the two lock hands and the contest begins. Those are some bouncy hands right there, ladies and gents. Sable almost has Jackie beat, but Jacqueline ends up stepping away just before she takes a loss. She shoves the table into her opponent, and I'm guessing that's the arm wrestling contest over. Jackie takes her trophy, she smashes it over Sable's back, and it all ends with marvelous Mark Mero running down with the oddities giving chase close by. Mero and Jackie escape through the audience, and the oddities tend to Sable. On Nitro, Scott Steiner's got half his body bandaged up, and the boys also have some weird looking doctor following them. Bobby Heenan says never trust a guy who looks like this with a rubber glove, while Tony Schiavone says Steiner's injuries have moved to the other side of his body. Steiner says the fans are sad tonight because Big Papa Pump's hurt. 2 weeks ago, Rick Steiner hit Scott on the elbow with a chair, and as Scott explains, your elbow bone's connected to your shoulder bone, which is connected to your neck bone, which is connected to your hip bone, and that's why Scott's knees hurt. Scott's doctor, Dr. Cecil Schwartz, confirms that Scott's injury is serious. Actually, he says, right on. So that means Scott can't compete, and Scott isn't prepared to go against doctor's orders. To prove he's not ready to wrestle, Buff tells Scott to keep his arm up, but it flops down the moment Buff lets go. And that, ladies and gents, is all the proof we need. Dr. Dickweed also can't confirm if Scott will be ready for his match against Rick at Fall Brawl. And speaking of Rick, the dog-faced gremlin shows up and he tells Scott it doesn't matter what shape he's in. He can be in a wheelchair or be in a gurney. At Fall Brawl in a few weeks' time, Rick's gonna beat the hell out of Scott and prove he's the better Steiner brother. Brawl for all action next, Bradshaw versus Draws. On Nitro, it's a triple threat match, Chris Jericho versus Stevie Ray versus Chavo Guerrero Jr. Before the Brawl for All match, we get another Draws' World video where Darren shows off his Odie tattoo. Seriously, these videos did this guy more harm than good. Unfortunately, Draws was unable to defeat Bradshaw in the Brawl for All, and even though it was a close fight, give JBL credit where it's due too. He's approached every fight different, and for a guy like Draws, who Bradshaw knows nothing about, he took his time to see how Darren went into the contest. Darren landed some big shots, but Bradshaw landed more punches in all 3 rounds. He also landed more impactful punches, even if things got a bit wild on more than one occasion. There was no discipline at all in Bradshaw's offense, while Draws tried a little harder to find openings. And Darren also tried the odd takedown, but Bradshaw was just too much for Puke, and so Bradshaw meets Bart Gunn in the Brawl for All final. A decent fight, but I still think it should have been Mark Mero versus Draws in the semi-final match. Bradshaw didn't even acknowledge his opponent as he left the ring. Al Snow's back on TV. He's in a bar talking to himself. He says he could have stayed in ECW, but instead he came to WWF to do the same old Avatar and Leaf Cassidy stuff he did before. Turns out he wasn't talking to himself, he was talking to Head. Head's on the floor though after having too many drinks. Over on TNT, Jericho wanted to form an alliance with Chavo Guerrero in this triple threat TV title match. Chavo fell for it hook, line and sinker, not once, but twice. Absolutely brilliant. Jericho tries to pin Chavo after throwing the poor guy to the wolves, but Stevie superkicks the TV champ and Chavo gets military pressed out of the ring. When the match resumes, Jericho tries to trick Chavo once again, but it's Guerrero who tricks Chris this time around. Stevie Ray stands back as Chavo annihilates the TV champ, but he gets involved when Chavo tries to cover Jericho. A low drop kick from Chris sends Stevie to the mat. Chavo and Jericho then take turns at trying to pin Big Stevie Ray, but they keep breaking each other's covers. The two do manage to work together to pull off a double suplex, followed by a double missile drop kick, but Chris isn't going to let Chavo pin Stevie. The referee takes a pretty badly timed bump, and this leads to Stevie pulling out a slapjack, also known as a blackjack or a sop, and Jericho gets knocked clean out. Just as Chavo gets smacked with the same weapon, the Giant shows up and once again he chokeslams Stevie Ray. It looks like Stevie forgot to jump, but the Giant still managed to lift him up and make the move look good. Giant leaves, the ref begins a 10 count, Chavo gets to his feet first, but Jericho pulls the referee and Mickey J doesn't see Guerrero on his feet. Chavo falls out of the ring, Jericho then stands up, and Jericho retains the television title. It's another entertaining TV match featuring guys like Chavo and Jericho, and let's give Stevie Ray some credit too. He's definitely stepped up a lot since Booker T got sidelined. The following audio has been cut out of the WWE Network version of Nitro. Have a listen.
We're back, and unlike our competition that'll give you a main event that they'll promote for the entire program and give you about 10 seconds of wrestling, we are going to deliver here tonight. We've got the U.S. title.
I have no idea why these kind of comments get removed. I'm not sure if WWE think it's bad form to have commentary that puts the company down on their own network, but come on, we know who won in the end. Stop trying to change things and don't try to hide what happened, because this kind of stuff made the Monday Night War way more interesting. This comment was made in regards to the Steve Austin versus Undertaker confrontation, but that's exactly what WWF said it was, a confrontation, and that's because WWF wasn't silly enough to give away Austin versus Undertaker for free 2 weeks before SummerSlam. You know who could potentially give away pay-per-view matches on TV? Yeah, you know who. Stick it up your you-know-what. Over on Raw, Dustin Runnels told fans they should consider reading a good book instead of watching the next part of Raw. He also said he is coming back, so you better watch out, guys. Sable also returned to the ring looking to fight Jackie, but Jackie declined to fight on Raw. Instead, she challenged Sable to a tag team match at SummerSlam. Jackie and Mero versus Sable and whoever she can find to tag up with her. The Oddities then attacked Mero and Jackie, so chances are it'll be an Oddity who teams up with Sable. DDP versus Bret Hart's up next on Nitro. On Raw, it's Val Venis versus Kanyon. This is a gauntlet match on Raw. If Val can beat all 4 members of Kanyon, including new member Takamichi Nogu, then Venus will get 5 minutes all alone with Mr. Yamaguchi. Teo was first up and he got eliminated after a fisherman's suplex. Sho Funaki got power slammed immediately and he was eliminated in record time. Bill Clinton called in again as Dick Togo hit the ring and Mr. Togo got eliminated following a money shot. But during the fight with Togo, Val injured his knee. This meant Takamichi Nogu was able to get in a bit more offense in comparison to his teammates, and after missing an elbow drop, Venus got put away with a Michinoku driver. It was the right decision. If one guy was able to run through a whole faction, then that faction wouldn't be so threatening anymore, would they? Mrs. Yamaguchi came down to smack Venus, and Venus grabs his big super soaker to splash Kyoko and the rest of Kanyon. Jerry Lawler says it's DNA in that water pistol. Yeah, DNA. It's filled with dick slime. On Nitro, the DDP versus Bret Hart match gets underway and Dallas takes the early lead. After taking a belly-to-belly suplex, His Excellency gets out of the ring, but Page attacks from behind and the Hitman takes a few guardrail shots before getting sent into the ring steps. It looks like Bret wants no piece of Dallas when the action gets back in the ring. Hart gets punished in the corner before taking the Stardom first turnbuckle bump and a suplex, but then Dallas gets punched in the balls and dropped on the top turnbuckle. DDP just got excellently executed. Hart goes through his usual offense when dealing with a grounded opponent, focusing on the lower body and midsection. Page gets his face ran across the top rope. DDP takes a Russian leg sweep followed by a backbreaker. The Hitman's now firmly in control and DDP needs to do something fast. Hart chokes Dallas on the middle rope. DDP gets thrown into the corner and Bret gets himself a bit of heat from the audience. We then see a pile driver from the US champion, but Dallas kicks out and Bret complains to Nick Patrick. Dallas then fires up. He lays it into Bret in the corner and the crowd loves it. Page pulls off a diving shoulder block and he follows this up with a pancake. Bret then throws Dallas into Nick Patrick and the Hitman puts on those brass knucks that don't look like brass knucks, but we'll call them brass knucks anyway. DDP gets whacked and Bret decides to put the weapon in Page's tights before putting himself in a pinning predicament. Bret kicks out, of course. The match continues on, and when DDP eventually fights back, Bret complains to Nick that Dallas hit him with a weapon. Patrick checks Dallas, he finds the weapon, and Page gets disqualified. Bret Hart retains the US title after some sneaky ass tactics. Sometimes it feels like Bret didn't need to cheat because, you know, it's Bret Hart, but the Hitman retains, and I thought the finish was fine. We end this week's show with Goldberg vs Giant on Nitro and that Steve Austin and Undertaker confrontation on Raw. After Goldberg makes his 10-minute entrance, the champ gets in the ring and he gets annihilated by the Giant. Billy Boy tries to fight back and things look bleak after a body slam, but Goldberg no-sells it and the crowd lose their minds when the champ slams Giant. Giant gets up, a little shocked at what happened. The crowd chant Goldberg's name, and it's the challenger who gets the better of the champion. A few clubbing blows to the back and a few kicks to the ribs get followed up with corner knee strikes. Giant pulls off a Russian leg sweep, and Billy Boy gets thrown out of the ring where the NWO Booty Man tries to get in a cheap shot. Goldberg fights back, but the Giant comes out to lend Brutus a hand. Goldberg manages to throw Giant into the ring post, and Giant replies by suplexing Bill back in the ring. Goldberg no-sells again, he spears the Giant. The Disciple gets in the ring and Mark Curtis calls for the bell, and the Disciple takes a spear for ruining the match. After the Booty Man takes a jackhammer, Scott Hall runs in to help his black and white teammates. But then Big Sexy shows up to help Goldberg. Unfortunately, Goldberg accidentally spears Kevin Nash, and the show ends with Kevin getting back up to shove the world champion. I mean, say what you want about the Starrcade 98 main event, but at least it's been given good time for a long build-up. On Raw, Stone Cold wants to throw Undertaker in that hearse, so the Rattlesnake comes to the ring after the Undertaker's entrance. Just one problem, that's not the Undertaker, it's Kane. Austin gets chokeslammed before Kane removes his brother's coat. Stone Cold gets assaulted in the corner, but the Rattlesnake fights back and we see the Luthez press. The two fight on the outside and they go through the audience. They end up back at the hearse and Kane gets thrown in the vehicle. Austin goes to open the driver's seat door, but the Undertaker's behind the wheel and the Phenom drives out of the arena. It's an incredibly short confrontation. WCW were right when they talked about this on their TV show, but it was still a whole lot more entertaining than Nitro's final match. I'm going with Nitro again this week. The Eddie Guerrero and Ultimate Warrior promos are must-see moments of the Monday Night War, no matter what you may think of either man. And Nitro had the best matches, with Chavo vs Jericho vs Stevie Ray and Bret Hart vs DDP. I enjoyed the Bart Gunn Brawl for All match, the stuff with Dan Severn was good too, and the final confrontation on Raw was loads of fun, but Nitro had more going on in terms of notable promos and solid wrestling matches. Raw's still on 69 points, it's still nice. Nitro's got 62 points, and we've got 16 ties. In the TV ratings, Nitro won again with a 4.9. Raw dropped down to a 4.2. We have one last stop on the highway to hell. On Raw next week, the Brothers of Destruction officially unite. Mankind competes in a Hell in a Cell match, and we see the final of the Brawl for All tournament. On Nitro, the Warrior brings his revolution to WCW, Booker T's back on Monday Night Television, and Kevin Nash teams up with Goldberg in the Nitro main event. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed another episode of Reliving the War, and I hope to see you all again next week.